got my headset turned down a little bit here. Alright, so let me grab a link real fast. As the guide, as the video says, this is a class and race guide for the classes. So I'm gonna be going over all that. Hey, how's it going? So I'm gonna be going over SK1 Gaming. I love you. I have no idea who that is. Hey, what's going on? Alright. So I appreciate that. I do. Alright. I was just grabbing a link real quick for one of my moderators real fast. Because my moderator plays this. He's pretty new to the game. Alright. So... is that you? No? Well. Alright, guys. I'm going to be going over a class race guide, so I'm going to be making a brand new character. I removed some of my characters because I'm going to be going Dragonborn with them. But, hey, Dragonborn being the best race in the game, but this is a pay-to-play race. It has increased healing, increased damage, pick 2 to any 2. Alright, so it's got +2 to any 2 stats, so we're gonna be leaving that as is. That's the best race in the game. Due to its passives, you get 5% increased healing from all skills and abilities, stuff like that. But we're gonna actually go over the classes first. So we got Rogue up at the top. This is one of the more famous DPSs that you will see. Between the Rogue and the Wizard is the two famous races that you usually see in the game. So Rogue is actually a strength dexterity based character. So we'll be going over that here shortly, and I've actually did all this research on my own a couple days ago, and I've been putting everything to the test. It all works out better than what I actually anticipated. We have a cleric, can play DPS if you want with it, but its main function is a healer. So that's going to be Wisdom Dex for the healer side. It's going to be Intelligence Dex for the DPS side. Then we've got the Wizard. The Wizard is your control the battlefield lockdown character. What I mean by that is you can freeze all of your enemies and stuff. So this is also an Intelligence Dex based character. Alright, I appreciate that. But, yeah, so the Wizard has 2 DPS sides, both of which are Intelligence Dexterity based. Okay, guys, we got the Ranger next. Ranger has 2 DPS sides. You can play melee, range, you can combine both of which, whatever. It does, this one here is more of a strength dex based character in my opinion. Okay, so this one here is going to be more strength dex or constitution strength, depending on how you decide you want to build that one. Next up, we got the Warlock. Can be a healer or can be a DPS. Now, if you haven't figured it out now, most mage DPSs are going to be Intelligence Dex or Intelligence Constitution. Constitution for a little more survivability, Dexterity for extra crit chance. Hey, Sasha. And it's not Bahasha, by the way. That is my daughter. So, anyways, healer sides on all classes, in my opinion, should be Wisdom Dex. So, if you're gonna go healer, start out with a Wisdom Dex, or If you're going to go DPS, start out with an intelligence dex-based race. We will be covering the best races for free-to-play. So, there's that. Paladin is a tank. Main function tank, secondary function healer if you want to go down the healer tree. So you got the tank side, you got the healer side. Constitution and charisma for tank. Wisdom dex for healer, or wisdom constitution for healer. Or you could go wisdom charisma for extra cooldowns, but I'm going to stick with the main function of constitution charisma for tank and wisdom dex for healer. The reason we're going to go dex for healers is extra crit chance. Healing on this game does scale off of DPS roll, so if you're built like a DPS, so wisdom for extra healing output and dex for extra critical chance. This is not crit damage, crit chance. There's that. And then we got a barbarian. Barbarian is a DPS, also a tank, depending on the role you choose at level 30. You do have loadouts that you can choose from later on, and that there, I'll explain how to get all that stuff later. Just right now I'm covering classes and all that. So DPS side is going to be strength, strength constitution, or strength dex for this character. The reason I would say that strength dex is because the way this character is going to be set up, it's going to be scaling off of crit strike and crit severity. Especially if you go with the race that I choose, that I explain for you here in a little bit. Now I have went over every last race and whatnot. Yes, I do realize that there's also a third person here that just hopped in. So, yeah. And it's not going to be a real long video, to be perfectly honest, because this is just a guide. And Zany just walked in. What's up, Janie? Alright. I'm doing it for the future people because there's not really many updated guides. In 2020, I've done all my research on my own. I've had to put most of my builds together on my own. There is guides for builds, but some of them just don't add up. As far as YouTube and whatnot, there's nothing really on what I'm doing, except for maybe like 3.5 years ago, and things have changed to this day. So, the Barbarians DPS, like I said, Strength Dex is probably going to be your better bet. That way you're getting as much damage output as possible as a DPS. Now, as far as the tank side, you're going to want to go Strength Constitution. Strength for extra damage, Constitution for survivability, that's a bigger health pool. Last but not least is the Fighter. The Fighter can be DPS, Strength Dex for DPS, or Strength Constitution for the tank role. It's fairly simple for the classes. Now, as far as the races go, we're going to back up a little bit here. Okay, so I've actually came to a conclusion that the Dragonborn is actually best in class race for all classes if you're a pay-to-win character, or you just want to buy DLCs. This is a DLC based character. Now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go over the free-to-play way to do it, and this is without putting any money out for $60 DLCs. Dragonborn was a $60 DLC, and if I can get to it, the Menzabarian Renegade, also known as the advanced version of the Drow, is also $60. So we're going to cover everything that needs to be said, starting with the worst class, or the worst two races in the game. Their shit's just all over the place. They don't benefit no fucking body other than yourself. Is one, the Halfling. So, The halfling has deflect, which is it can be used on all classes, yes, but it's going to benefit your tanks more than none. It starts out with dexterity and charisma or constitution, meaning that that's not even close to being a tank. And you got control resistance of 10%. Like, they tried making it a tank race, but it's just all over the fucking place. It is the worst race in my opinion. And then the second worst race, and I will say this is one of my healers and one of my tanks from 3 years ago. 3 years ago it was a completely different story. But half elf actually can play a fairly decent healer or a fairly decent tank, but where you don't have nothing benefiting yourself in battle. Crit severity and gold bonus 1% higher than all class. That's doing you no fucking good. That's doing you no good at all. And you get a 1500 deflect as well. I mean, come on guys, you can come up with something a lot better than that. So I'm also going to go over one more class that is useless. The Wood Elf. Now, I've seen guides and whatnot. They say the Wood Elf is really good for a hunter or a rogue. And I'm going to say hell no. I am going to say hell no. Okay, yeah, you get 10% resistance effects to slow your movement. That's what a healer is for. A healer is there to remove those kind of things. When you're in end game, until you're level 80 and you're in end game, slowed movement really don't matter until you've got healers on your team and you're in dungeons. The healer is supposed to take those things off of you if they're smart healers. So, and you gain a bonus 1500 crit strike is helpful. But the one thing the game doesn't really tell you is getting crit severity is a bitch. It's talking like 10 million astral diamonds worth of stuff just to increase your crit severity through pets, equip power, and oh, good one, JD. But yeah, Wood Elf is completely garbage. So here's what I've came up with, and we're not even going to talk about the gift. The gift is bullshit. So here's what I've came up with. DPSs, melee DPSs. So I'm gonna explain melee DPSs. So you got your barbarian, you got your fighter, you got your rogue, you got your hunter. I might have said that one already. So hunter, rogue, barbarian, anything that deals in melee or physical attacks. Your main DPS you're gonna want is the half orc, and the reason that is because you get a crit severity is 5% higher than that of any other race, meaning you're going to be getting 5% stronger critical hits. So crit severity is your crit damage in this game, something that a lot of people don't tell you. So half orc is your melee. And you get a 10% boost to movement speed for 3 seconds when entering combat. So it makes it to where you can get into the enemy just as fast as a tank. So that means you're getting out there doing more damage as a melee guy. So hunter, rogue, fighter, barbarian, you kind of get the drift there for the melee guys. So physical damage dealers, I'm going to say go with the half orc because one, you get a dexterity buff and you get to choose one of two others, which is strength and constitution, survivability, or even more damage. And where most of your melee dealers are going to be building off of strength and dexterity as a DPS, half orc is by far going to outshine all other races for a physical damage dealing DPS. Alright, so next class we're going to talk about is your mage dealing DPSs. I found that the Sun Elf. The Sun Elf is best in slot race for mage damage dealers. So you get to start out with intelligence, so that right there just gives away your DPSs right there. And then you also get to choose from dexterity or charisma. I'd choose dexterity over charisma because charisma is only going to give you companion influence and cooldown reduction, and it's a slim margin when you can actually, you know, build that stuff for it that's better later. You also get action point gain is 2% higher than that of other races. Action points, if those of you that don't know, is your daily power, also known as ultimate ability. It's one of the ones that you got to work up to use. 2% higher action point gain is really, really good. So that's really helpful. And you get resistance to control effects by 10%. Hey, can't beat an extra 10% that other races had that just didn't benefit properly. So Sun Elf is going to be Wizard, Warlock, and Cleric DPS. Those are your three mages in the game. Now we're about to talk tanks and healers. This is where shit's gonna go crazy. Okay, so I have actually found that there are 2 different best in slot races for 3 different tanks, but they're split up 2 races for 2 different tanks and 1 race for the other. So we're going to talk the Dwarf next. Dwarf I have found best in slot for a Guardian Fighter tank, or the Fighter now, how they call it, the Fighter, and the Barbarian, what everybody that used to play years ago would know as the Great Weapons Fighter. So Dwarf is actually best tank in slot for Barbarian and Fighter. Reason that is because both of those classes build off of Constitution strength as a tank, and it's the only race that benefits them properly, where you get an extra 2,000%, 2,000 defense, and you get a 20% increased resistance effect to knockbacks and pushbacks. And I would imagine that also counts as knockups, knockdowns, pushbacks, pushdowns, push-ups, shit like that. So we're gonna cover that one there. 2 classes for 1 race, and for a paladin is actually gonna be the Tiefling. Sorry guys, I bet you guys was hoping for something different, but the Tiefling is in slot best race for a paladin tank. Alright, now reason I'm going to say that is because it's the only class that gives you charisma and constitution and benefits the race properly, so you can deal 5% more damage to targets below half health, and when you receive damage you have a 10% chance to apply Infernal Wrath to your attacker for 5 seconds. This effect reduces damage to the target's attack by 2.5%. So one, you're making it to where you take less damage by 2.5%, and I think this race here is best in slot even over a Dragonborn for a Paladin tank. Now, a lot of people's going to argue that with me. They're going to be like, oh, you get 5% healing from all abilities and spells. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm pretty sure, that tactical enchantments are an enchantment item, not an ability or a spell. So, 3% extra damage? Sure, why not? Go with 3% extra damage, but you're not making it to where you're taking less damage, or you're doing 5% more damage to enemies below half health. That's going to be a really big factor fighting bosses. I think the Tiefling is actually going to be best in slot, does not matter what race, best in slot, and I'm going to go over top of the Dragonborn. And a lot of people can argue, I really don't care. Now for healers, this is the tricky part, because healers healers are wisdom decks. So, let's just go ahead and talk the drow. Oh shit, the drow's supposed to be a hunt. Nope, not today. Sorry for your luck, shithead. Because the drow gives you dexterity and wisdom starting off. Oh my goodness. What is that? That is your healer perks right there. Now, you get trance. It's the only shitty fucking perk out of this deal. But it still helps. When you're out of combat, you heal faster. You regenerate life points faster. When you're out of combat, healers tend to need to heal sometimes when out of combat, especially when you come out of a big fight and your tanks are squishy as shit and you've burned all your divinity playing as a paladin or a cleric, or hey, you got a warlock healer that just needs that extra push. There you go, right there, you got a drow. So we get dexterity healer and wisdom for the healer. You got trance, which gives you healing out of combat. Now, Darkfire, now here's where only the Menzabarian Renegade would overshine in the free-to-play way, but it's still $60 DLC, so that's not really free-to-play. So we're going to talk Darkfire and Fairy Fire. We're going to go over Darkfire first. So, I look at your healer as your biggest support in the game. Because a lot of shit you do in this game, unless you're doing high-end dungeons like epic dungeons or trials, you can get around without a tank. So, the healer is probably the biggest support role in the game. Darkfire, when attacking a foe, you have a 5% chance to apply Darkfire for 4 seconds. Yes, it's only 4 seconds, but it can be reapplied almost instantly because of the way it plays out. Healers attack really fast, and if you're playing single target damage, they attack even faster. You attack multiple targets with AoE, and trust me, I've tested it out. It works really, really good. Darkfire reduces the target's defense by 2,000. 2,000 might not seem like a lot when you're level 80, but it actually is. 2,000 is pretty big if you knock 2,000 off of 85,000 from cap, which most monsters really aren't at 85,000. Now, the reason I said the Menzabarian Renegade is the only thing that can overshine the debuffs that the Drow gives is because of Fairy Fire. Fairy Fire essentially does the same exact thing. Only difference is it reduces defense by 1,500 and lowers the damage of their attacks by 2.5%. Now let me tell you, if you're running a Menzabarian Renegade as a healer, you're staying in the background attacking the boss. Let's just say it's a boss. That Fairy Fire is equivalent to what a Bronzewood enchantment is. And that is a 4 million Astral Diamond enchantment from the last I looked. For a rank 9 or above, it is roughly about 1 million to 4 million, if not more, in Astral Diamonds. For a skill you can get from a race passive. A racial passive. Your character would be worth 1 to 5 million Astral Diamonds, just your character alone, with that passive, due to the same effect as, it almost gives the same effect as a Bronzewood. And we can go look at a Bronzewood right now, because that's actually the last race best in slot for a healer. And I'm going to go show you what a Bronzewood does, because the only other classes that are there are Metallic Dragonborn and Moon Elf. I didn't even bother looking at Moon Elf because you got to pay $60 for that. And I'm not doing that because it comes with nothing but the race. Metallic Ancestral Dragonborn comes out of the glorious Resurgence Lockbox Legendary Pack or whatever. let me tell you, it's a 1 in 400 chance, very slim chance you're ever gonna get it. So that is the free-to-play races. This right here is best in slot race for all classes, unless you're a healer. Healer, in my opinion, would be a drow. But the only reason the Dragonborn would be equivalent to the drow is due to the 5% more healing. 5%, I'm gonna have to say, does kind of outshine other things, but I can't say it. I can't say it's gonna outshine Darkfire or Fairy Fire because I haven't actually tested that. I'm not that far into the game with a healer like that because I just deleted some of my characters so I can make space to do this video. Now let's actually go look at a Bronzewood and see what the Bronzewood actually does, because I have one on my Guardian Fighter. And my Guardian Fighter is up here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and log into this one. We're going to go look at the Bronzewood, and this is going to be the last thing I do, because the Bronzewood to me is equivalent to what, or Darkfire and Fairy Fire are equivalent to me of what Bronzewood does, because Bronzewood is for a tank, not a healer, but with a racial bonus to what the healer can have. Let's go ahead and look at this. Alright, so Bronzewood enchantment rank 9. Your at-will powers, encounters, and daily powers deal 2.5% bonus damage as arcane. Targets struck by your encounter powers become marked for 10 seconds. Marked targets will take 5% more damage from you and your allies. So it's a little different, but at the same time it's kind of the same. I mean, yeah, 5% more damage from you and your allies is a lot more than reducing defenses by 2,000 or 1,500, but the Menzabarian Renegade has the shine right there. Reducing damage by 2.5% is really, really helpful, especially when you got squishy fucking tanks. Now, I'm going to show you right now. My tank ain't squishy. 500k just about right there, guys. Far from squishy, guys. Alright. You definitely want stats that look like this on a tank. 77,000 defense, you know, and I'm not even 20k yet, so, I mean, they'll get there. I'm still kind of working on this character. Just right now, there's an event going on to where I'm leveling up new characters. That's going to be this event right here. Ah, come on. Get out of that shit. Alright. It's the Neverwinter's recruitment. Any character during this time that gets created during the Neverwinter's recruitment, when you level up and you open up your level up packs, you can get incentives. Your account can get up to 200 incentives. There is a vendor in Protector's Enclave that can get you a whole heap of good stuff, guys. Enchanting Stone rank 5 and 6s, Mark of Potency rank 5 and 6s, up to 2 bags of holding with 36 slots, so they're called greater bags of holding or something like that. You can get a mount, you can get a companion, you can get companion upgrade tokens. There is a lot of stuff in it. And, yeah. They've also got it set to where you could, do certain things a little easier, like upgrading enchantments, upgrading artifacts or whatnot. Those are them enchanting and Mark of Potency rank 5s and 6s. You can make it easier on yourself if you're having a hard time with inventory space, which most people usually do. And get yourself 2 bags of holding if you can get up to 200 incentives. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave that like button. And until next time guys, don't forget to have fun. See you guys later. Bye bye.